Is that not the greatest title ever made for a YouTube video? Hell yeah, that shit is, man. And after my rant, you're going to see how it's 100% true why size matters. And ladies, before you go complaining about the title, you know that size always matters. Don't give me this bullshit that it's the motion of the ocean, because there's a big difference between a 3-foot wave and a 30-foot wave, motherfucker. Anyway, I don't think it's any secret to those playing this game that the maps are gigantic compared to prior games. And the reality is, it's a hard balance of trying to find a mix between small to medium to large maps when it comes to making a Call of Duty game. And the reality is, you're never going to please anyone. You can make 5 small maps, 5 medium-sized maps, 5 large maps, and people will still complain that they're too big or they're too small. You just can't please everyone. People complained in Black Ops 2 that the maps suck. They're too small. It's set up for campers. And now, Infinity Ward listened, and they went in the opposite direction. However, these maps are fucking ridiculous. And if the video gameplay wasn't so boring, I was considering using a video in which I ran around an entire map the entire time. I think it's, Stonehenge or Stonehaven, whatever the fuck that shit is. And I went 3-1. A whole 10-minute video, and the final score was 47-39. 47 was tops. That was the winning team. My team, the losing team, nobody had over 10 kills. 3 guys had like 8 kills, and that was the top score. I ran all over that motherfucker, and I couldn't find anyone. I ran through the middle of the map, the outside of the map, and I couldn't find shit. So if you guys want to see 10 minutes of scenery on Stonehenge or whatever the fuck that shit is, I can sure post up that bullshit, but man, that was fucking irritating. Now, here's the problem and where vagina comes into play. The maps need to fit the scale of battle. Right now, the scale of battle is the penis size, and the maps are the vagina, and it's supposed to fit into that. Unfortunately, with only 6 players total on a team and an uncentralized game modes, which I'll explain in a minute, you get these enormous maps with people finding very little action. Right now, the poontang is way too big and way too loose. It's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway and expecting some satisfaction. It's just not happening right now. The kill streak scale was reduced down. You no longer have these big ticket items in the sky and shit, which I've said plenty of times. I love the fact of that bullshit. But even the UAV has been dummied down to something relatively mild. The game was built for ground fighting now. Position to position, station to station fighting, except the maps have seemed to grow exponentially. They've added a shitload more areas to the side and whatnot. There's a whole lot more space that are just utterly pointless. Hallways that are useless, tunnels that go nowhere, 3 to 4 to 5 levels of elevation on maps. Essentially, that vag has lost all elasticity in its walls. There's no longer the needed friction for pleasure and the enjoyment that we want. The smaller maps in this game are closer to the medium-sized maps that we've seen before. Strike Zone is a nice-sized map. Tremor's a decent-sized map. Octane is large, but it plays small since most of the action occurs in the middle of the map. But Chasm, Stormfront, Sovereign, Flooded, oh man, all these seem like small maps until you start playing them and you realize they have all this space inside buildings and on the outskirts of the map. Like Sovereign, holy shit, you know how many times I've gotten lost in that fucking map? You run around and you see a doorway, you run in the doorway, and then you run all the way back to the end of the map. You're like, how the fuck did I end all the way back here? I want to get back to the action in this motherfucker. There's no centralized space for fighting on some of these maps. Most of it is just useless space, and only a true fucking camper will be located in those spots. I'm the kind of player, I like to play on the outskirts of a map. Flank enemies, get around behind them while leaving my back as unexposed as possible, shit like that. But you have to search every fucking crevice for a motherfucker on these maps. Holy shit, man. It's like a woman who goes all natural, and then you need a fucking machete to chop down that bush to find a wet spot. It's fucking annoying, man. Call of Duty excels when there's fluid action on a map. It excels when you get into multiple fights within multiple seconds of each other. But it's not happening here. I haven't encountered too many hardcore, sit in a corner type camper people, so people are moving. But it's a bitch trying to find them. Now, another side effect of these maps is there's very little room for SMGs and shotguns. Sure, each map has some close quarters fighting. Chasm is a large scale map, but when you stay indoors, you get those tight, narrow places to fight in, and that helps. But you can't bring an SMG to Stonehenge and hope you stand a chance on that motherfucker. Shotgun on that map is pointless. I mean, it puts a premium on quality assault rifles or marksman rifles, or for those who know how to snipe in this motherfucker. Now, the funny thing is, even with these gigantic area maps, the spawns are still fucked up. I had a game where me and this one douche kept spawning right next to each other. I think 6 straight kills. We both spawned close enough to another to kill one another right after the fact. I would kill him, he would spawn in front of me. He would kill me, I would spawn to his side. Seriously, how is this shit not fixed? Why are the spawns always so fucked up in the opening week? There's going to be a full rant for another day, but I can't think of any Call of Duty that didn't have fucked up spawns in week 1, only for them to patch that shit later. What the fuck? You know how this game works by now, so fix the fucking spawn bullshit before the game is released. Holy shit, man, this is the same problem each fucking year. How have you not learned how to fix this stupid shit, man? But anyway, flankers like me who prefer to play around the perimeters are screwed. People who enjoy the foreplay have no choice but to jump straight into the vag and get busy immediately. There's no more teasing or tickling or nibbling, nothing. If you want action, you need to head straight to the center and get down to business. And as the ladies will tell any experienced motherfucker, it just doesn't work that way. You have to warm up to it before you just jump in head first. You know what I'm talking about? Personally, I think the maps would be better off if they closed some of those side tunnels and shit like that. Some of those extra rooms that serve absolutely no purpose. The maps would have been better without all this wasted space. Y'all remember back in the day in Call of Duty 4? They had that map block, you know, those Russian projects and shit like that. Fucking place had a swimming pool. But how many people went into that swimming pool? Not a goddamn person. The only time somebody ever went in there was when a headquarters was located in that motherfucker. Now, headquarters is eliminated in Ghost. You know, I don't know if they're going to bring it back in the future or some shit like that. But there are a number of places on these maps that are just absolutely irrelevant. Case in point, I was playing Domination on one of the maps. I forgot the name, but I think it's Siege or whatever the fuck. You know, there's water on the side of the motherfucker and a whole bunch of buildings. And anyway. In Domination, the flags are located in a triangular position, mainly positioned on one side of the map. The other side was completely neglected. I don't think I had a reason to travel to that side of the map. Since I parked my ass between the B flag and our home flag, I spent all my time running in between the two locations trying to defend and capture the shit. And the funny thing is, the maps are so fucking large that I couldn't get from the A flag to the B flag or the B flag to the C flag and defend both of them at the same time. So if somebody was capturing the B flag and I killed somebody, and then somebody was capturing our home flag, I couldn't get back there. The map was so fucking large. And this one time, I spawned on that map, and I'm inside a tunnel. I'm looking, I'm like, what the fuck? Where the hell am I? It took me like 3 minutes just to get all the way back over to the B flag. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous, man. You have this whole side of the map that nobody's going to use. The only time somebody's going to go there is if they want to flank an entire team, take a whole 30 seconds to 45 seconds to get to the other side of the map. And even then, they're not guaranteed to kill. They're not guaranteed to capture the flag. It is a fucking pointlessly huge map. They created all these areas that have no purpose in the game other than just taking up space. It's a waste. And certainly doesn't help when the older generation of consoles only play 12 people at most on a map. We don't have ground wars. We don't have 9 versus 9 where these maps might actually benefit. So when you take a game mode away like Headquarters, or you take a game mode away like Hardpoint, where you have specific locations that people have to head to on a map, it becomes pointless. Now, I don't know if some of those game modes are in that, what is that Ghost Mosh Pit crap or whatever. I haven't really ventured into that motherfucker. But the fact is, Headquarters should have been a standard mode. Hardpoint should have been a standard mode. One or the other. You should have had something in the game that had people visit specific locations that you created on the map. And certainly without them being in the standard playlist, there is absolutely no reason to visit almost every single nook and cranny on these gigantic fucking maps. At the end of the day, the vag just doesn't fit the gameplay. You have all kinds of people running in and out of that ass for 10 minutes, and not once do the balls touch or anything. You know, that shows you, Infinity Ward, that you need to tighten shit up. I know we won't see changes to the larger maps, but if there was any way to cut down on how much useless space there is, I highly suggest you get a surgeon and you get to work on some vaginoplasty in this motherfucker, because it needs some Summer's Eve up in this bitch to make these maps feel a whole lot tighter up in this motherfucker. And before people say that there's no way they could fix the map, I'll tell you right now, last year, BioWare actually adjusted a couple of maps in Mass Effect 3 Online. It took a large ass scale patch, but they were able to fix 2 specific maps that people camped their ass off in fucking co-op. So, if you can fix co-op maps, you can certainly fix online multiplayer maps. So I don't want to hear this bullshit that Infinity Ward can't do it. Will they do it? I don't fucking think so. But they certainly have the ability to do so in this motherfucker. Anyway, that's my rant for maps. These shits are just way too fucking large. Anyway, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit. And I'll see you guys in the next rant video on Call of Duty Ghosts.